What's the M&M boys here, Moto and Midway? Why don't you introduce yourself, Mr. Moto?
Well, I'm Moto.
Oh, no, David. Come on.
Geffon, and I'm with Trevor Schmidt.
There you go. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. We're here at the CPL, man. Saturday, big tournament day. We had a few interesting results, and I think the first thing I want to ask you about and get a little conversation going between us about is that the two overtimes happen, and then if they end up a tie, they go to a third overtime, and they pick a new map out of a hat. And It's been pretty controversial. And I want to get your opinions first.
Horrible.
Oh, he's not the hold no bones.
No, I understand why they do it.
I understand.
To keep the tournament moving and keep the time going.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? You can't go from a map like Nuke that's really constrictive and it's got one style of play, and then go to Mill, which is more open and more like long fights, and expect a team to be able to just transition into it. I think it's just unfair to ask a team to do that.
But again, if you're in the CPL's position, what do? I mean, I'm not going to say I'm going to defend them, but at the same time, if a team goes back and forth, you could end up in 7 overtimes on the same map. It could get
But you know what? I mean, that might be the case, but at least that way you've come to the conclusion, you've come to a final end of who's the better team on that map. It's not, well, let's just continuously pick maps until someone can manage to beat the other team out.
What about maybe extending the overtime to five rounds at that point? So say you've played 2 overtimes tied at 3-3 on both. Say, okay, well now we're going to add 2 more rounds and make it a 5-round overtime at that point. What do you think of that?
Say at that point, you know what, the same problem's not going to happen. Where
well, you got a little bit more time to decide it though.
It's going to be 5 rounds, but I mean, if you do it over 3-round overtimes instead of 2 5-rounds, how's it going to be any different? It's just going to be the same result.
It's a good point. So I guess your solution is just let them play it out so week one out ends up winning?
You know what? I say let them go.
Well, I got to ask you, personally, every overtime added to the tension. Is it the same for you, or do you think you just reach that point where you start playing enough overtimes that it doesn't matter?
I think it's like a roller coaster. You start at the bottom and it builds up, and after like the 3rd overtime, you go, all right, you know what, this is getting a bit ridiculous, but as it goes on, it's like you're almost like witnessing history and progress, like 5 overtimes, 6 overtimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember a few years ago we saw 6 overtimes at Everland, and that was the first time we'd ever seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool to watch, and I think it kind of stifles what you could potentially have, which is just a historical game ruined by just hey, let's just play this.
Well, but I mean, I hate to do like the sports analogy, but I mean, you look at what they did in hockey, where they got away with that, and they started doing shootouts and stuff, and those kind of things. I mean, do you think there's a point where we do something like maybe try a different format at some point to maybe decide it?
They did try a different format. They went to the 3 rounds with money as opposed to the pistol rounds.
All right, that absolutely was a great decision. I agree.
I think it was a step in the right direction.
Well, what more can they do though? I mean, you don't seem to want to change the rounds. You don't want to change the map. What do you think then?
No. I'm not saying I don't want to change the rounds, but I don't think that's going to solve the issue of not having the same result.
Understand. So it is a possibility though to basically give you more rounds of a possibility to actually come out with a different result though. Yeah. You look at 3 rounds, you get 2-1 score, 3-0 score.
I think the extra rounds would do. I agree that, I mean, like I was saying, I think it would be the same result, but I think it would lay more importance on really managing your money. Because
Absolutely.
Most of the teams in overtimes that I saw was just like, well, spend, and then you get to the 3rd round and you still have some money.
Well, maybe if you lost the first 2, now you have to worry about the money issue.
I think maybe 5 rounds would be good because you can manage your money better.
Yeah.
And you have, because it seems like the way things are now with the 3 rounds, there's no consequence to how you spend your money.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
Just spend, and you still have money left over.
Let's take a step back from that for 1 second. Let's look at the overall picture of what a tournament actually is made of. Interesting, we had talked about this in one of our roundtable before the tournament, but you brought up some interesting points. I want to get your take on it. What is your favorite format? You've played in a lot.
Best of 3 single elim, absolutely.
Best of 3 single elim. Yep. That was my personal favorite. Tell me why it's your favorite.
I think it really does allow the best team to come out on top, because in a game like Counter-Strike, I'm not going to go out and say it's a random game, because I mean, there's no question you have your teams that are always on top, SK and
3D.
I thought we were doing a factual.
Oh yeah.
I mean, no, we've had our successes and we've had our ups and downs, but most of our ups have always been in that format because, you know what, we're not perfect.
Yeah,
Nobody's
absolutely.
perfect. And I think what you see is teams like SK, who I'm not taking anything away from them, but they're great at winning the first map.
Absolutely.
And that's what Double Lim's all about. It's, you know what, you come out and you win the first map.
Yep.
Whereas if you look at how SK's done in best of 3, you know what, they might win the first map, but they'll drop the second and third map. Because I remember playing them at WCG, they beat us on the first map, and then we take the next 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does really encompass who the best team is.
And let me ask about the spectator's point of view. I mean, for you as a personal, as a player, and now you're kind of transitioning more into worrying about what the spectators are thinking about, you know, and that's been my role. I think that single elimination format is absolutely critical because it's so easy for them to understand. One and you're done. If you don't win the match, you're done. You think that's the same for both the spectators, but also for the players too?
I think at that point it gets rid of. I think Double Lim is antiquated. I think it's a good system.
Big old antiquated word there. There you go.
Hey, I'm sorry. I know it's a bit high for you, but
no.
We'll
I was worried about my Godfrag members. They may not understand those words you're going to use for us here.
Basically, it's old and bad.
There we go.
I mean, I think what it does is it forces teams into situations where they don't need to be. I think if you're in a bracket and you can't beat the team that you're playing against in the best of 3 format, then go home because you have no business going on in the tournament.
Well, again, though, that puts a lot of pressure on the seedings. I think that's one issue. If you don't have good seedings, you know, in a single elimination format, you're in trouble then.
That's true.
And so, I mean,
I don't disagree with that.
And again, you guys have had the benefit, but look at this tournament, you know, 3D, for example, had a poor seed. We had some seeds that were, you know, maybe EG, for example.
But it's, you know what, at the end of the day, if you're the best team, you could be 99th seed.
Very good point.
And you will win.
Very good point.
I mean, seed helps.
What about the group play to go in then? That WCG, ES World Cup both use group play.
The problem is, with a tournament like this, you have more teams. Pulling off a group play before
it's going to be challenging.
Would be challenging. But I'd almost be willing to see if we sat down and looked at a tournament with the different times and actually crunched the numbers. I bet you could pull it off. Because if you ditch the whole lower bracket, I mean, that frees up so much more time.
Absolutely, definitely.
I definitely think that's possible.
You know what? I think we should have him up a little bit more often. What do you think? Hey, you enjoying it?
Of course.
What do you think of the whole tournament so far? Everything. What
I think
anything stand out?
I think there's been a lot of upsets and
rival.
You know what? I mean, I didn't expect them to go out that early, but you know what? Going back to the best of 3 single limb, like, you know what? I don't know if they would have been out that early. I don't
very
know
good
if
point.
A lot of teams would be where they are if they had that. And you know, I'd be more confident going forward, saying, you know what? We're at this stage of the tournament, and we have the best teams here because it would really prove who the best team is overall.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Be who's the best on Cobble, who's the best on Nuke. You pick your map.
So then I guess I have to say, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I guess I have to say, do you really believe that the final standings of this event are the best teams in the world in that order?
I wouldn't go as far as to say that. I don't have the confidence.
That's an interesting statement because
to say that because I don't know. Because I don't think this is.
I have a very scary feeling that when I look at what the Godfrag rankings voters are going to say after this event, it's going to be very similar to what the standings from the CPL are going to be, and I don't think many of the community realize that.
I definitely think SK is a top team. They always will be. But,
yeah, definitely.
You have surprises like Jack's Money Crew. Not taking away from them, but you know what someone said to me? Jack's Money Crew is going to be in like top 5. It would have been like, I just don't see that happening. Especially since I talked to some of their members who weren't too confident coming into this.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. I guess we're going to wrap it up, but man, I appreciate you jumping on here. This is very interesting. I think we're going to have to do this again. Moto, Dave, excellent work, and I appreciate talking to you. Yep.